Hello and welcome to our 11th session in this modifiers chapter, and in this session we are going to have a look at the fourth modifier in this deform category. I will come into the blender, and in the blender I have the default cube now. I will press numpad 1, come into the front view, then press tab, and I am going to now come into the wireframe mode, and with the toggle X-ray on, I will select the top two vertices. See that both are selected here. Press numpad 1 again and press S and scale it down like this. Then I will press numpad 3 and coming on to the side, I am going to select both these vertices here and I am going to type SY0 to make it straight. Similarly, I will select all the vertices on the left hand side, type Y0 to make it straight. Press enter, then press A, then scale it along the Y axis a little like this. So now I got a shape like this, and here I am now going to add some loop cuts. I will press Ctrl R and I am going to add two loop cuts at the center like this. Click once and twice again. Then I will press Ctrl R and I am going to add one loop cut to the bottom like this. Then again I will press Ctrl R and add one more loop cut here. Then I will press Ctrl R and add two loop cut to the left here, Ctrl R and two loop cut to the right here, Ctrl R and two loop cut to the center here. Now in this case, now I am now going to also press Ctrl R and add two loop cuts on the top here. I will just move it a little to the top like this and I will add one loop cut to the top. Now I will come into the solid state view. I will press Ctrl R and add here one more loop. Press 3 and come into face selection mode. Select this face, these two faces and these two faces. Press E and extrude it. So now I got a structure like switch. So I will press tab. So this appears like an electric switch, and then I will also press 7 or Ctrl 7 to come into the bottom view. Press tab, and here I will come into the wireframe, and here also I will press Ctrl R and I will add a loop, and then I am going to select the face here. I will select this face over here and I am going to now press X and delete that face. I will come into solid state. So I got a hole here like this. Press 2 and come into edge selection mode. Select this edge, press E, Z and extrude it like this. So I got a structure something like this. I am going to come over here and I will call this as the switch. So I will press numpad 1, come into the front view, and I am going to drag and place this switch somewhere here. I am going to press shift A, and in the mesh I am now going to add a cylinder, and I will press tab and come into the edit view, press Ctrl R and I will add some 5 loop cuts like this. Click once, twice, press A, G, Z and move it to the top like this, and then I am now going to press S and along the Z scale it a little like this. I will scale it by approximately 2 times along the Z axis. Press G, Z and move it to the top. Then I will alt click on the bottom edge here and type S and I will scale it down a little like this. Alt click this and I will scale it down a little like this, and similarly alt click and select the top one, press S and scale it down, alt click the second one here, press S and scale it down. So I created a structure like this, and I am going to call this as some device. Say for example, this is the Alexa speaker. I have a speaker and a switch. Now I want to connect both of them with a wire. So to connect this wire, I will press numpad 1, come into the front view. I am now going to press shift A and I am going to add a curve, and in the curve I will come and add a path. If I press tab, you have 4 vertices here. So I will select the first vertex, press G, move it over come over here near the switch. I will select the second one and drag it below the switch like this. So as I drag, you can see how my curve is behaving. See, I will again press G and I will drag it and keep it somewhere here. Now next I am going to come here, select this, press G and I will move it somewhere here. I will again press this and I will move it here, press this and move it and bring it in here, so that now this wire is going inside my device here and it is going inside my switch here. So after this I will come into this curve and I am going to come into geometry, and in the geometry in bevel I am going to add a slight bevel of around, say for example 0.06 meter, and now you can see that now I have a wire running from here to here. So I will select this wire and I will press G, move it and place it here at the tip like this. So this is at the tip here, and then I will select the other tip here. I will move it and just place it inside like this. I will just move this also a little to the side so that this is straight, and I will see that this goes exactly inside the switch like this. See, it should go inside the switch like this. Okay. Now here also this is fine. So now the challenge I have here is, as I move this switch or this speaker, I want this wire to follow it. So right now if I select the switch and if I move it, wire is not moving. I will right click and cancel it. I will now come here and I will name this nerve path as wire. To make our wire follow this speaker or follow my switch, we are now going to use another modifier, and that modifier is the hook modifier. So I will select this wire, I will come into the modifier now, and in the add modifier I will come into deform and I am going to add a hook modifier. In the hook modifier I want to come here and select my object. So when I select this object, as I move this, as of now nothing is happening. See, if I move this, nothing is happening. So what actually I have to now do is, I have to select this object, and here I have to come into the edit mode now, and in the edit mode I will select this vertex over here. I will just press Ctrl H, and when I press Ctrl H, you will get this option, and you have an option here, assign to hook, and I am going to assign it to the hook here. So this is assigned to this hook. If I press tab, come over here, select this and move this, see, automatically now you can see the wire is moving along with the switch like this. See, as I move the switch, the wire is moving. So similarly I will right click and cancel it. I will come to the other end and I am going to select this, and I am going to, I'll come into deform and I will add one more hook modifier, and I will call this as speaker hook. I will come into the object and I am going to now select my Alexa speaker, then press tab and select this vertex, press Ctrl H and choose the option align to hook, speaker hook. So when I select the speaker hook now, and if I press tab, now if I select the speaker and move, you can see the speaker is moving, and as I move the switch and the speaker, you can see the wire following it. See, I can move it anywhere I want and the wire keeps following it. I have shown you with an example how we can use this hook modifier. I will come into the collection here and I am going to call this as speaker switch connection, and I am going to close this now. Now to explore this hook modifier in detail, I will come into my scene collection, right click, and I am going to create a new collection, and I am going to call this as hook example, and then I will come over here and I will switch off this speaker switch connection, and in the hook example I will come in the screen, press numpad 1, come into the front view, I will press shift plus A, and I am going to add an icosphere, and I will increase the resolution to something like 3, and now here I will press shift middle mouse and I will just zoom this in, and I will press tab and come into the edit mode. I will press 1 and come into the vertex mode, select any vertex on the top. So I will select this vertex, press 1 and come into the front view. I have selected this vertex, and now instead of adding hook from here, I can also select this, press Ctrl H, and now you have the option hook to new object or hook to selected object. So right now we have one icosphere here, so I will select hook to new object, and when I click on hook to new object, automatically an empty is added, and that empty is snapped to this actual vertex. So now if I press tab, if I select this icosphere and if I press G and move it, see, as I move this, you can see it is hooked, that one vertex is hooked over to that point. And here in the hook, I have the facility here to control the strength of this here. Like this, I can control the strength. I will come and remove this hook modifier also, and this empty also I will remove it. Now I will select this icosphere, press tab, and this time I will come into wireframe mode, and with the toggle X-ray on, I am going to select a set of vertices like this. If I press Ctrl H and select hook to new object, now again an empty is added, but the empty is now to the center of my selection here. And now if I press tab, I will press Z and come into solid state, and now if I select this icosphere and if I move it, you can see now that this entire section is getting actually hooked. So I can move all this thing, but here it is hooked. So I will right click and cancel it, and now when you have a set of selection here, if I press tab and come into the edit mode, when I am added hook to a set of vertices like this, then if I come here, you have one falloff facility here. So what this falloff is going to do is, I will now press tab, come into object mode, and I will select this, press GZ, and I will move it down like this. Okay, so I have moved it, it is hooked now. And here in the falloff, if I change the radius, you can see how the radius is going to affect. See, now if I make it 1 meter, see how this entire thing shaped into somewhat like a egg shape. See, so if I make it 0.2, see how it changes. If I make this radius 0.3, it will have a different thing. I will move it to 1 meter now, and here you also have different type of fall off. Now curve will be like this, then you have smooth, then you have spear will be like this, then you have root, then you have inverse square, then you have sharp, then you have linear, and also constant. So you have various kinds of fall off here. So right now I will keep this back to smooth, and now I can select this and this empty and press G, and if I move it in like this, say I can even create a somewhat a chair or a cushion like this. I can create a cushion like this. I will press GZ, I will move it down. See, I can create animations like this. We call this as the bean bag. I will select this object, right click and choose shade auto smooth. Come here, add modifier, generate, and I can add a subdivision surface. And now you can see that I can create structure like this, and using the empty, pressing GZ, I can move it and create surfaces like this. See, I can create this beanbag-like structure like this. So I will come over here and call this icosphere as beanbag, and I am going to call this empty as beanbag controller. Now for the next example, I will close this hook example and I will switch it off, and in the scene collection now I will right click and create a new collection, and this time we are going to create a flag pole. I will come into my view, press numpad 1, and I am in the front view, and I will shift middle click and bring the cursor to the center, press shift A, and in the mesh I am going to add a cylinder. Now I will press tab and come into the edit mode, and I am now going to press GZ and move this to the top like this. Then I will come into the wireframe mode, and with this toggle X-ray on, I will select all the vertices on the top, press GZ and move it down like this. I create a small step like this. Then I will press Z and come into solid view, and then I will now press 3, and in the face selection mode select the top face, and I will press I and I will create an inset like this. Press EZ and extrude it along the Z axis like this. Again press I, scale it down and make a small size like the pole size here. Then press numpad 1, come into the front view, just zoom it out a little. Now press E and along the Z axis scale it up like this. So I have created something, a structure like a pole. Okay, now if required press GZ and move it a little more like this, still here. So now I am going to come over here and I am going to now call this as flagpole, and for this flagpole I am going to add a flag. So for that I will press shift A, and in the mesh I am going to now add a plane, and for this plane I will press RX90 and I will rotate it. Then I will press G and move it over here, and I will just zoom it in, and I will see that it sticks to this over here. Press 7, come into the top view, press Z and come into wireframe view, and you can now see the center circle, and I will just see that it just touches the pole here, and also it is exactly at the center like this. Now after this I will now press numpad 1, come into the front view, I will press tab and come into the edit mode, and then I will press 1 and come into vertex selection mode, select these two vertices. I will press GX and move it a little to the right to create the flag proportion here. Press A to select everything, and I will click subdivide, and I am going to subdivide it some 30 times to have more vertices over here. I will come here and call this plane as flag. Then I am going to select this flag, come into add modifier, and in deform now I am going to add a hook modifier for this flag, and in the object I am now going to select the flagpole as the object. I will select this flag, press tab and come into edit mode, and now here in the vertex mode I will draw a box and select only the first two set of vertices like this. See, I have selected these vertices. Then I am going to press Ctrl H, and here I am going to choose the option assign to hook. So now what happened is, if I press tab and come into object mode, and if I now select the pole, if I press 1 and if I move the pole, you can see that the flag vertices are fixed to this pole like this. I will right click and cancel this. I will press Z and come into solid state, and now I will come into this flag, and to make this flag behave like a cloth I am going to come into the modifier, and in the add modifier I will come into physics and I will add cloth. So once I add cloth, if I rewind and if I play the animation, you can see that now it is falling down. Because of the physics, it is getting pulled by the gravity and it is falling down. So to avoid this, I will now select this flag and I will press tab, and now if these vertices are selected then fine, or else if I press Alt A and deselect everything, now I will press Ctrl H and here you will have an option select hook, and I am going to select the hook. So, now all the vertices that has been hooked will be selected. Now, I will come into my data modifier, and in the vertex group I will create a new group and I am going to call this as hook, and I am going to click assign. I will just press Alt A to deselect everything and click on select to see that this is properly assigned. Then I will press tab. Coming into the physics now, in the you can see automatically the cloth is added over here. If you scroll down, you have one option at the bottom called as shape. If I open this shape and in this pin group, I am now going to select this hook. Now, if I rewind this and play this, you can now see how the flag naturally falls down and it is just moving around. I will again rewind it back and play it and show it to you. See how naturally the flag is going to behave. So, I will even rewind it, and also here I will come into the modifier, and for this flag I am also going to come into generate and add subdivision surface. I will right click and choose shade auto smooth. So, now if I rewind and play it, you can see how naturally the flag is behaving. So, this is another example of the hook modifier. Okay, now I am going to rewind this. I will come into file, save as, and in my 4_modifiers folder of my work, I am going to name this as 4_11 hook modifier.blend file and click on the save button. In this session, we explore a few examples about the practical use of this hook modifier, and in our next session, let us continue with the other modifiers present in this deform category.